Hello, my little beeps and boops, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bot Talk. I'm your host, David Borman. Let's jump right into that crypto market. As you're probably aware, Bitcoin seeing the whole market seeing a bit of a dip right now. Got my buy the fucking dip hat on, is now the official hat of days like this. Because I see sometimes you see people panicking, and all I want to say is, don't panic until I tell you to panic, which is not today. So, Bitcoin in the last day or so broke down below 8,000, which was a key support level. Now it turned into a resistance level. We got stopped out at about 7,500. We actually went a little bit lower to, let's see, it looks like we bottomed out at 72.96. So, the question on most people's minds at this point, I think, is where do we go from here? Is this bad? Are we going further down? Are we going to bounce? Let's break it down. If you've been watching my videos, you've heard some of this before, but here's what I see. I don't know anything. This is not advice, investment or otherwise. I could be totally wrong, but here's what I see. So I've been talking about this descending channel for quite some time. And it honestly, for several months now, for basically half a year, it's been showing that it wants to stay in this channel. It's been really reluctant to get outside of these ranges. So right now, I think it's not implausible. We're going to see a little bit more downside action. We might just be holding out here for a moment, but based on the technicals, a dip down to at least this Fibonacci level of about 7,100. There's also some psychological support at 7,000 and historical support. I think that's 7,000-ish is likely to be our bottom in the near term. I think. I will explain why. I will say a solid break. If I'm totally wrong, we see a solid break well below 7,000. We're kind of in like a dangling, like we're going to see probably down to about 6,000 if that happens. I don't think we'll break outside of this channel because of how much history it has, but just be aware. If you see a solid break below 7, probably 6 is at least our next stop. Okay. So as I have it right now, it might kind of look like I have this channel just going off into infinity. Am I implying Bitcoin's just going to leak away forever? No. Like I said, I think 7,000-ish is about the bottom. As to why that is, let's take a switch, as I always do, over to that long-term logarithmic chart again. All right, here we are. You guys know this chart. This is what I think we're looking at, though, realistically. We're in this is the channel we were just looking at, obviously. We got this resistance on the top side from the 200-day moving average, which I think is going to keep us to the lower end of this channel, maybe. But I will qualify that a jump up to the top end around 9,000 is definitely possible. Anything in this range, I think, is realistic right now. But roughly speaking, probably what I think the healthiest, most logical thing I think that could happen at this point would be basically we continue down in this channel until we get around this long-term trend line that I always talk about. It really is the healthy level I think we're trying to return to, and I think at least right now the technicals are showing support with that. So basically, it doesn't have to be exactly like this, but kind of like spooning through this and then back up and out and then probably starting to get more exponential is, again, the vanilla version, which puts us at around 7,000 for the bottom. Now, it could just kind of meander across or even get a little bit wackier before we break out. But I guess what I'm saying is I think a break up out of this channel before around this time, which would put us early next year, would take a catalyst bigger than the technicals are providing right now. Like maybe something actually exciting happens or major in the realm of crypto or Bitcoin. Maybe ETFs haven't moved the market that much, so I don't know, something big. But barring anything big, I think we will get out of this market, this bearish market, soon in the next 6 months or so. Yes, a solid breakdown, some terrible news. Oh, turns out Bitcoin's broken. Yeah, then you could see a lot worse things happen, but let's not worry about that too much. So in a nutshell, watch out for that. Stay strong, look for more dips, but I don't think it's going to go too much lower either. I think we're approaching the bottom of this thing. Bitcoin proved me wrong to the top or bottom end, but that's my 2 cents right now. Let's shift gears and take a look at the rest of the market. So right now, more than I even usually point out, a lot of alts are in lockstep pretty much with Bitcoin dropping by very similar percentages. It's been kind of an across the market thing. We'll actually even get a little bit more into why this might have happened in a minute, but basic attention token is standing out a little bit. It's actually given up some of its gains in the last couple hours, but it's at least performing a little outside of, look at all these other ones. These are all by percentage, but they look almost identical. And of course, looking at Bitcoin dominance, we've pretty much flatlined or leveled off for now. Something will happen, but for now, there's not an altcoin rally. It's really more that Bitcoin's leading the market and altcoins are following along. So that's that. But now let's talk about a little bit more about why this might be happening, and let's move on to some news. All right, here we have an article discussing the drop that just happened, about how Bitcoin dropped in 4 minutes, and that pretty much all of it came from one exchange. Is this market manipulation? Now, I'm not going to read the article to you. I'll link it down below like I always do. It's worth a little bit of a read, but basically what they're saying is that all of the Bitcoin that was sold that caused this sell-off, or the majority of it, came from Bitstamp in a matter of large but few transactions, making it. And also, Bitstamp is one of the exchanges that the price of Bitcoin futures on CME is determined with. So basically what they're saying is that it looks like Wall Street came in, manipulated the price of Bitcoin on Bitstamp, and in order to manipulate the price of the Bitcoin futures on CME. If you're not fully, I'm not going to dig into all this stuff right now, except to say that basically it looks like Wall Street's manipulating Bitcoin to manipulate their futures market based off of Bitcoin. Now, this looks plausible, has apparently happened before, and maybe more importantly, and this is where like the end of the article kind of goes, and something that we're going to get into a little bit more in a minute, is that this is normal operating procedure for Wall Street. They've been doing this forever in terms of manipulating prices in all the traditional markets, gold and stocks and fiat in general. Manipulation happens. It is absolutely going on every day in every market. So I find it very disingenuous when certain people criticize crypto by talking about how easily their markets are manipulated. The only reason their markets are more easily manipulated is because there's literally no regulation. But even with regulation on traditional markets, we still see massive manipulation because the people who make the rules tend to be in bed with the people who benefit from the manipulation. But okay, so I'd say this article is worth a read, and I think it's a very important thing to think about. Why are these markets so easily manipulable, and what can we do about it? This is going to spin into the next thing we're going to talk about, though. Zuckerberg! So today, Zuckerberg went in front of lawmakers in DC to talk about the Libra. I know I hammer on this a little bit much, but I think it's really important, and I think this is tied to what I just said. In a nutshell, from what I've gleaned, this just happened a couple hours ago, but he basically said that, I'm sure a lot was said, and I haven't watched the actual recording, but the nuts and bolts of it is that he's saying lawmakers are concerned about the Libra and about it moving forward without regulatory oversight. And Zuckerberg, I guess, said that Facebook isn't the Libra Association, even though we created it. And though we are a member, if the Libra Association, not us at Facebook, decide to go ahead without regulation, then Facebook will step out and will not be part of the Libra Association anymore. Which didn't really, I don't think, satisfy the lawmakers, and it doesn't satisfy me. And there's a lot to be said about this, more than I'm going to get into right now, but I'm going to, for my purposes, for my video, I want to talk about the fact that this is all feeling very surreal, that you have this big tech company, and you have lawmakers that seem to be very concerned about, and I think rightly so, but that, like, big tech seems to be doing what it's doing despite the lawmakers, and when you look behind the scenes, a lot of these people all are part of the same elite social group, so that's right. It's time for the first ever Bot Talk, let's put on the tinfoil hat. All right, so I don't know anything, but I just have to think that it's kind of curious here that we have Facebook proposing creating the Libra, handing it off to big companies, basically, by being like, oh no, we're going to give it to all the, I mean, I know a lot of big companies, we talked about how a lot of big companies did back out, and that's, nothing I'm about to say is like, this is what's happening. Let's just speculate together. But the idea that Facebook seems to be creating this thing that big government doesn't want to have happen, but now it's like they're trying to step away from it so that it can happen anyway without them. And I worry that somehow the Libra is going to come into existence and get regulated by the government as almost like a backdoor to them giving us a Fed coin or a global coin, or taking the best of crypto and then manipulating it into an actual completely controlled monetary system. And doing it while they act like the government's acting like it has to do this because of big tech and also terrorism. But all the while, all I can think is that big tech and terrorism and all these things are doing what they're doing forever with fiat, with traditional banking systems, like we were just talking about. Markets, traditional markets, are manipulated by big interests. Money, traditional money, is manipulated by big interests and used by criminals constantly. And also, let's remember this is a whole tangent we don't need to go down on right now, but like the Panama Papers and the fact that realistically, big money is big criminals. They just get away with it because they're big money. So, all right, enough. All I'm saying, keep your eye on the Libra, because I don't trust it at all. I'm not going to be getting into it unless, as I mentioned in a previous video, watch me be a hypocrite in 10 years when I kind of have to, and I'm like, man, it's inconvenient, fine, fuck it, I'll get the Libra. But basically, I'm very deeply concerned about what this type of technology can be done in the hands of big government, big banks, big business. I still have a lot of faith in distributed technology, Bitcoin, blockchain, crypto in general, many others, Monero, Nano, tons of them. Those are just some. I think there's a lot of, it's the oppressive power of the big business and the big government, and then it's that grassroots, decentralized power of the people. And I see it kind of coming to a head because one of these can't live together forever with this rise of technology, and I just don't know what's going to happen. And I'm not one of those conspiracy theorists who's all like, fuck the government. I'm more like, it's just important we know what they're doing. All right, that'll about do it for me again today. I should be back by Friday with some more news and opinions, and viva la robo-revolution. So until then, thanks for watching. Keep your eyes on the future.